Travel Channel presents.
The Beatles played to record-breaking crowds the world over. We'll take you back to Liverpool and go behind the scenes of the venues and clubs where it all began. St. Peter's Church Hall. It was here that Paul McCartney first met John Lennon when his Quarrymen group were playing. Band member Len Gary remembers it well.
It was here in 1957 that the Quarrymen skiffle group played. There was Paul McCartney sitting in the audience, and Paul, being a left-hand guitarist, picked up a right-handed guitar and played 20 Flight Rock and played proper guitar chords. And John and I and the gang were very impressed. And he also did a little Richard impersonation. So that was the Paul McCartney's audition for the Quarrymen.
Today, a plaque outside commemorates this historic meeting of Lennon and McCartney. Time now to go down the Casbah. Once a teenage coffee house and venue for bands, some consider this to be the true birthplace of the Beatles. It was here they were given their first residency as a band. The Travel Channel was given exclusive access to the Casbah by former Beatles drummer Pete Best.
Welcome to the Casbah.
It was Pete's mother Mona who opened the club in the basement of their family home back in the summer of 1959.
I was here on the opening night and it was great to watch them, but there was magic. They could do the harmonies, the banter they had with the crowd, the rapport that they had with the crowd. Enveloping that in the atmosphere, the Casbah on opening night, it was a magical night. The notoriety and the act grew here under this particular roof.
After years of being closed, the Casbah has now reopened. Amazingly, exactly as it was more than 40 years ago. We can also reveal a secret.
What people fail to realise is that they did help actually decorate the club. So it was very much part of their club. John painted the Aztec ceiling, Paul McCartney painted the rainbow ceiling, which was, the initial banner. George Harrison and myself painted stars on the ceiling, so there's a little bit of everyone in this club.
Pete later joined the group and went with them to Hamburg, where they worked hard and played hard. When they later returned to Liverpool with their new look and sound, the Casbah was their first venue.
The place just went totally quiet. It was just like, someone had switched the sound off as you go off the audience, and then as soon as the first number finished, the place just erupted. Everyone who came out to everyone and said, we had never heard a drum sound like that. We've never heard such a powerhouse band. We never heard the music you play. And I suppose that was what made us so different. That was the Beatles sound.
These days, fans can visit the club and experience Casbah hospitality as part of an organized tour. The Beatles went on to play at larger venues around Liverpool, like the Iron Door, where former promoter Sam Leach remembers seeing them.
Even now I shiver when I think it was fantastic. Went right through the bass sound, After it was over, I followed them to the dressing room. So one day, lads, the other we're going to be as big as Elvis. I gave him 12 bookings that first night.
Back in the center of Liverpool, you can visit another early venue and hangout of the Beatles. The Jacaranda was owned by Alan Williams, who became their first manager. Today you can still see the murals painted by former Beatles bass player Stuart Sutcliffe, and also John Lennon's profile and self-portrait. But it was the Cavern Club that the Beatles made famous, playing nearly 300 shows between 1961 and 1963 in the Cellar Club on Tiny Matthew Street in downtown Liverpool. The Cavern closed in 1973 and was demolished, but was rebuilt and reopened a decade later and is now a major tourist attraction.
I think if you come to Liverpool, it's a requirement that you have to come to the Cavern Club, otherwise you haven't been to Liverpool.
I would say, if you were religious, coming to the Cavern Club would be like if you were going to the Vatican.
Time now to reveal some of the secrets behind this famous venue.
There are a lot of myths surrounding the Cavern, so many in fact that at one time Matthew Street was nicknamed Mythew Street.
One popular belief is that the original cavern is under a parking lot on Matthew Street.
Because of the car park myth, people think that the cavern is still there, intact, underneath the little car park. Well, it isn't. The cavern has been rebuilt where we're sitting now on exactly the same site. The bricks that surround us here now are the original bricks because the cavern was rebuilt with its original bricks. It's just like moving the stones around at Stonehenge, that's all.
The doorway has also moved. What was once the original entrance to the cavern is now a fire exit out onto Matthew Street.
If you were visiting Liverpool today, you wouldn't realise that this was the doorway to the original Cavern Club. Back in its heyday, during the 60s, kids would have queued the full length of the street just to get into the doorway. The queue would have gone way past the entrance, which is just there today.
The atmosphere at the cavern was obviously electric. It was like nothing on earth, basically. The smell is what hit me first.
It was awful. It was as if you left your clothes in the garage for about 2 years and then put them on and went out in them.
My dad used to say, "You've been to that stinking cellar again. I can smell it on your clothes. Go and change."
The cavern was the home of the Beatles, but few realize that its world-famous stage has also been graced by performers such as the Rolling Stones, Jimi Hendrix, Eric Clapton, and Stevie Wonder. Today, the club is still used as a venue for bands, and if you're really lucky, you might even catch a Beatles tribute band. Performing here are American English and British Export. Tourists can soak up the atmosphere of the past and imagine what it was like at the venues where the Fab Four once played. Next up, the Beatles sites hidden in the heart of London.
They became the centre of London life.
The ultimate Beatles tour.
This was one of the musts for us. Hotspots. Yeah.
And the secrets of the vault.
John Lennon held this in his hand, and now I am.
Ghosts, witches, Bigfoot, the Bermuda Triangle. It's easy to be skeptical. But what if there is a possibility that we are not alone? That the unexplained,